All right, guys, so this is a small continuation of the previous part that was really, really dark. Unfortunately, as I said before in those two other videos, I'm not sure which ones you got to watch first, whether you saw the one about my father's side of the family or you saw the one about my mother's side of the family. Both of those had some intrigue and unfortunately some dark consequences to things that happened. And again, as I said before, my aunt unfortunately passed away way before her time, and it was due to unfortunate, back in those days when it came to cancer and diagnostics and all that stuff, they didn't really have the technology, so they diagnosed her with cancer too late, and so things went south. But let's talk about some of the positive things about the other side of the family that I did not discuss into as much detail because I was talking about the intrigue and the issues that happened with fights between my father and my grandfather and how that all turned out. So I didn't really talk about a lot of the fun details that happened when I was hanging out at my uncle and aunts over there. And so like, talking about Chita and her husband Nino. I used to spend a lot of the time over there too, and it was really fun. They had this beautiful house. There was this famous round room, and later on I will talk about a little bit about what happened in that round room because I was able to witness one of the historical moments in my cousin's life there. So I think that's worth mentioning and going into that later on because I'll talk about him a little bit more in detail too and the fun times that we had. So anyway, there was this really cool round room, and I remember that it was on the right side of the house, and then if you moved further down from this round room, there was the kitchen, and then on the left there was a huge living room. Now I can remember this stuff, and it's crazy because I usually forget everything, but it's like my brain works in a very strange way. So when I go to places, when I go to certain locations or whatever it is, it's a little bit photographic, especially if I spend a lot of time there. So what happens is I create an internal map inside my brain, and then I can sort of turn it around in 3D as if it was, if I was still there. I can actually pretend, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm pretending to be in the house, and I can tell you what it was like. So I remember there was this kind of entrance that led into kind of like a tunnelish kind of thing, and then my uncle would have all these cool canes. I believe he was into fencing, or at least he was very good at fencing, and I remember he had all these cool canes, and I was always really intrigued by that. But anyway, as soon as you walked in, as I said before, you walked straight into the living room, but then there were ways to get into this round room. And the round room was where the TV was. It was where there was a table, and people would sit around the table. There was these really cool round couches that went around the room. There was a window, and then again, as I said before, you ventured further forward, you'd end up in the kitchen, and the kitchen was quite a fun place to be too. But my favorite place was the living room. It had all these incredible paintings. It had a chessboard, and that's probably where I started my real love for chess, because I think I started being a little bit older or whatever. And so I would pick up these beautiful chess pieces, and sometimes he would play with me, and we'd just talk about, I don't even remember what we talked about, but it was this kind of bonding experience, and then he would teach me how to play chess, and I loved it. So really, really good times. And then unfortunately there was a lot of intrigue again because some people in the family were not so happy with my Aunt Chita, and I think it probably was because she was one of those ladies who was probably ahead of her time. So no filter, she would probably just blurt out things that could have been awkward. Oh, look at that! I wonder who else does that. Anyway, she might just blurt out awkward stuff at a party or whatever it was, say something that she didn't mean. Just that was something that my dad did as well. Sometimes he would just run his mouth and say things that he then regretted later on, but just because he just couldn't hold it back. So, but let's talk about the relationship that I had with her, because my relationship with Cheetah was completely different. We got along really, really well, and we had an understanding. Like a lot of times, we wouldn't even have to talk to each other. We could kind of like just look at each other, and we knew what was going on. So she was a bit of an empath herself, I do believe, and she was pretty strong with a force, I would say. If you want to put it into Star Wars terms, she was capable of, she didn't know it was chi power probably back then, but she could probably stop a clock if she wanted to, if she really focused hard on it. Like if it's a running clock, she could probably stop the hands from moving if she had that kind of intensity in her gaze, if she wanted to. But with me, I always saw those really kind eyes, and I think for, if you would say that if there was one person that she kind of like let her guard down with, it was probably me, because she knew that I wouldn't say anything. So, it was just really easy to hang out with her. And so then whenever I heard the conversations and things that other people said about her in the family, I just never got it. I was like, okay. I was always amazed at did she say that? Okay. All right. Anyway, so those were my thoughts on my aunts. And then of course I spent a good time with my aunt Marilena, and we still have beautiful conversations over email till this day. So sometimes I would go over to their house and I would hang out with Angelo, her husband, and they would take me to wonderful places in Rome. And that we had a great time there too. And of course that was many years later on, because I think in the beginning she was in Sicily as well. So I don't know how the dynamics brought her from one place to the other, but in the end, I guess she turned out to find her own equilibrium, and that's all that really matters here. So anyway, big shout out to like everyone in the family that I've been talking about, and hopefully I've been describing things in a way that's not hurtful and that is hopefully quite accurate. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, guys.